Just because I love you, it don't mean I trust you. Everybody not to be trusted. Everybody around me thugging. Everybody around me drugging. Everybody around me hustling. Everybody know not to bring no new niggas around me that say I be bugging. Got racks in the go-yard luggage. Just cause I love you, it don't mean I trust you. Everybody not to be trusted.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. I am your host, Quentin Flores. This is another episode of Uncut with Q, where we talk about all things growth, all things real estate, making money, mindset, all in the above. Anyways, guys, this is your first time listening. We have multiple different types of shows here, all right? So this might be your first episode. This might be your 50th episode. But if you go back, we have a lot of different types of things, right? So we talk about mindset with Q. I'll go on here and I'll start dropping games, some coming from my head. We have Real Talk. Real Talk's one of my favorite shows. We have where Q and Trey surf the internet. Trey come in here and we pull up random topics on the internet. We talk about them. And then sometimes, which is one of my favorite types of episodes, I love doing these, are we call long form. Long form is essentially a long episode where I bring somebody in who does some great things for themselves or has done great things for themselves, and they've overcome adversity on multiple different levels. So this is one of those shows, guys. All I ask, if you're listening to this, you do me a favor. If you get value from the show, share it to somebody. Share it to somebody. Don't just freaking share this on your social media. I'm talking about recommend this to someone. Text it to someone. Call them and tell them about this podcast and what you learned. Because our goal here for you to share it is value transfer, right? So you receive value, you transfer it to someone else. That's what we want. And if we don't do a good job, if we don't do a good job, don't worry about it, all right? But if I'm asking you that you get value from this, share the show. And so without further ado, I got an amazing guest. He's from San Antonio, right?
Yeah, I've been out here for about 14 years, originally from the West Coast,
California. Oh, what? California?
Yeah.
That's dope, man. I'm from Cleveland.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
But I've been here pretty much since I was 12, man. So this is like home for me.
Oh, absolutely.
Love
absolutely.
San Antonio, dude. There's a lot of culture here, and I think people sleep on that. You know what I'm saying?
Big time, big time. Yeah, I grew up in a small town just north of LA, so basically about 30,000 people. So I always been in a small town. So when I came to San Antonio, I got that same feel. It's a big city, but with the small town, mentality or feel. So for me, I mean, I'm back at home.
That's dope, man. That's dope. So let everybody know who you are, what you do, all of those things, man. Drop an introduction for us.
Yeah, so I've been a real estate investor for almost 10 years now. So I basically moved to San Antonio in 2011 to expand a different type of business. I was in the credit card merchant processing business, setting up small businesses with, the credit card terminal, POS system. They wanted to set payments on a website, that type of thing. So I came out here because most of my clientele was Latino based. So I used to be in Los Angeles, where it's a huge city, right? And it's about 70% Latinos too.
Yep.
So, but it's very saturated. That industry is very competitive. It's cutthroat. So I said, where else outside of LA can I find a big enough city with the good demographics? And San Antonio was like the perfect fit, man. The glove fit the hand perfectly. We're almost like 2 million in the metro. I would say we're like 70, 80, 90% Latino here.
Yeah.
So, and mostly Mexican, right? So for me, it was just a good match. And those first 2 years out here, I mean, we killed it in that business. What I mean by that is we basically knocked on doors, business to business, on every single business here in San Antonio, where we were able to acquire what took us, or would have took us 10 years in LA. We were able to do it out here in about 3 years.
Wow.
So I had an office in Houston, Dallas. Austin didn't work for the dynamics were not there. But basically I had 3 offices, sales offices with big teams going door to door, offering our service. So we were kind of like that local guy, right? Offering credit card services. So that the other option was, which most people got the service through the bank, but there was no agent, there was nobody involved. So when your business had a problem, I mean, you literally had to pick up a phone at the branch and then call merchant services, which was either New York, Florida, that type of thing. So that's how we were able to compete. We were in a different structure.
What kind of credit card stuff did you offer your clients?
So basically we did the brick and mortar. Obviously back then the credit card terminals were still popular. Right now everything is POS. So if you go to a restaurant, they flip the screen, you sign on it, you pay your tip. So now everything has evolved to, a computer-based product, but before it was just the terminals. So what I would do, I would basically have to invest in the terminal. So I would, pay a commission to my sales reps, invest in the equipment. Sometimes I had to provide free paper if it was a big account. And then I made my money off the transactions. So basically, every time they swiped the card, I was making a few cents per transaction. Obviously with
wow.
Yeah, so residual income. I mean, that's basically
that on a mass scale. You get 1,000+ people doing
big
that.
Big time.
Changes everything, man.
Big time.
That's amazing.
So that right there, is where I got started and or moved out here to San Antonio. Eventually, the payment apps started coming out. Square, Stripe, offering like no fees, man. Like when I say no fees, no transaction fees, no monthly service fees. Obviously, you still have to pay a percentage anytime you run a card, because
it's like 2%.
Yeah, 2 to 3%. Normally, most of that goes to Visa, MasterCard for they call it the network fees. But a lot of the transaction fees were being now marketed by Square, offering zero.
Wow.
So you can imagine what it did to the small business community, where you have a big company that's backed by Chase, acquiring millions and millions of small merchants. I mean, we were just getting hit left and right on our portfolio, just getting calls. Hey, they're offering me zero transaction fees. We're moving, we're switching. So you can imagine when my income, I'm just basically bleeding out.
It's literally just overnight at this point. Yeah. These
So
third-party processors, as cool and convenient as they are, they did put a lot of small businesses out, man. It's crazy to think about it, but that's an economic shift that most people don't account for. When things are going good, we talked about this before the camera press play. Nobody talks about when things go wrong, And so like we all have a business plan. We get into something, it works, and then we blow our minds because we're like, holy crap, this was the thing that I've been waiting for. It starts making a crap ton of money. We get on a high horse and we stop planning. Business isn't just 5 yards ahead, it's 5 inches in front of you. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
And so when you are able to identify a problem before it happens, like for COVID took a lot of businesses out, dude. It did, you know what I'm saying? And so like we were one of them. I had just got a real estate office, a huge one. It was like 5,000 square feet. We had 40+ sales reps. COVID happened in 1 month, wiped my business out. Nobody wanted to meet with us to sell their properties because we had to go and physically, when you're in real estate, it's a service. You want me to come to your house and meet you if I'm buying your property. We couldn't do that anymore. Yeah. So we had to switch our whole model to a virtual, which ended up being more profitable, but nobody saw that happening, dude. Nobody thought that this thing was going to be so huge that it would shut the whole world down. So I feel for you, man. I feel for you. When that had happened, what was the pivot for you and how did you get over that?
So luckily, when I moved out to San Antonio, one of my best friends, he was a real estate investor, and he moved out with me. So he went bankrupt in the '08 crash, millions of dollars, that he lost in California. So I'm living with this guy, right? Where we're renting a 1-bedroom apartment here in downtown. I tell people he was the couch story. I had the bedroom. He slept in the couch. But he kept studying the area. He kept studying the developments, everything that was already approved back then. The Pearl was barely blowing up. Alamo Brewery was in there. All these developments that you see right now were not there in 2011.
I remember.
And he keeps seeing that the city's about to pour a lot of money and also private equity and this and that. And he just starts buying the vacant land, near the east side for like $5, $10,000, $15,000. And within like 2 years, I'm not kidding you, man, he literally had about 20 properties. This is land. This is just land that he's sitting on. And he's buying some on market, some off market. People are just putting, the grass is like that big. Nobody wants that area at the moment. But he knows that that's the next area to blow up. And
we talking about Dignity Hill?
Dignity, Denver
Heights.
All those areas. Obviously, most people made most of the money in Dignity. I mean, everybody in hindsight today be like, dang, you could have bought those things for, $20,000 for a lot, $10,000.
There's some people who lost a lot of money on that too. Like the ones that were buying those properties owner finance and then reselling them for $100K. Yep. They buy a teardown in the east side of San Antonio, 1988, 1985, and then they'd resell it on a wrap And although they have a 30-year mortgage at like a 9.9% interest rate, yeah, they might make $200,000 to $300,000 on that property over a 30-year period of time, right? And fast forward 30 years later, look what happened in that neighborhood, right? You have all those houses now being valued at over $1 million. So, I mean, think about it. That's one of the reasons why owner finance, you shoot yourself in the foot because you give up all your equity.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a different way of looking at it, but you're absolutely right. People who bought those lots in 2010, 2011, 2012. Wow. When I jumped into the game, I was 23 years old in 2013. Dignity Hill just became historic, and everybody was trying to move deals in that area. I did my first flip in Dignity in 2015. I lost a little over 80 grand. I didn't do, never again will I ever do a flip in Dignity. I'll tell you, you know what made me not lose 100 grand? I found a cannonball. A cannonball underneath the property.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Like an actual cannonball.
A real cannonball. Christ. So people don't know this, but the Battle of the Alamo historically happened on the east side of San Antonio.
Holy shit.
They took the bits and pieces of that building and moved them to central San Antonio and made it a tourist attraction.
Wow.
So if you go and look at the Alamo downtown, that's not even the real Alamo, bro. You're looking at the structure of the Alamo. Maybe there might be a wall or a picture frame from the Alamo, but that's not the fucking Alamo, man. So like where I found the fucking cannonball was where the Alamo stood, bro.
Holy shit,
man. In Dignity Hill. The museum bought that bitch from me for 20 grand.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Holy shit.
I couldn't even touch it. My guy stopped working on it.
Yeah.
We couldn't do anything because like for like 3 months, and I'm tied in hard money, I had to fucking wait it out for the museum to come and inspect it to see that it was an actual fucking cannonball and run scientific tests on it to date where that cannonball came
Holy
from.
Cow.
Dated back to the Battle of the Alamo.
That's
There's
amazing.
a lot of fucking cannonballs over there, bro. Be careful flipping a house in Dignity, dude. Never again.
Damn, that's 20 grand. 20 grand
I know
a pop.
that's a crazy story, but
That's
keep
amazing.
going, bro. So your roommate started buying all these lots. What was the next piece? What happened?
Yeah, so within 2 years, literally started flipping them for 30, 50, 80. The last one he sold in front of my own eyeballs was like for 120.
What?
And he bought that for 10 grand. And I'm like, man, I don't know how this thing works, man. I mean, I was bleeding out. I have 3 offices.
Yeah.
You know, my attrition's going through the roof. You know, meaning the amount of new merchants that I'm getting on a monthly basis. There's more going out. So for me, I'm like, I don't know how this thing works, but I'm going all in, man. And he at that point, he was telling me it was over. He's like, all the investors know about Dignity, the east side, this and that. And I said, you know what, man, my strong suit is sales and marketing. If I can get in front of sellers and offer them to buy their property, it's a numbers game, right? That's what I've been trained my entire career. And that's what happened. I literally started sending out the yellow letters, you know, I'll buy your house cash. And I was probably one of the first people handwriting those damn letters, man.
Wow.
And that was it. You know, people started calling me. And they're like, okay, well, what are you offering? I'm like, shoot, I don't know what to offer now. So I figured, you know what, I'm just going to start low. I can't go wrong with that.
Yeah.
I'll give you 30 grand. Damn, I wanted at least 38. And I'm like, damn, I'm not far off. So it just started happening like that. Even, you know, my first year in the business, I think I acquired almost 40 properties. Wow. Just in that, you know, contracted. My next issue was, how am I going to fund these? Eventually, I had to figure that out, right, the financing part. Luckily, one of my mentors said, Rich, if you find a real deal, the money's going to show up. 100. So I said, okay, I'm going to go with that mentality. And it's true. Anytime you find a deal that has enough equity, enough cushion, man, anybody will lend you the money, whether it's a hard money company, private lender, you know, somebody will partner up with you on it, that type of thing, as long as there's enough meat on the bones, you know. Fast forward today, like I mentioned, I've been in the business almost 10 years, done almost 400 transactions. Probably by the end of the year, I'll be very close to 400 flips.
Wow.
You know, I have a buy and hold portfolio of over 100 properties, all in the east side or near downtown. So that's pretty much my story right now.
Dude,
you know?
It's amazing, man. I got to ask you, because there's a lot of people that try to pivot to real estate. And it is a great business. What's cool about real estate is no matter what happens, at the end of the day, people need a place to live. right? And
Absolutely.
so you can make money in so many areas because what we have is like literally a reticular commodity. Like property values go up and then they just keep going up and sometimes they just go up slow. I'll tell you, man, from experience, my primary residence, when I first bought it, I bought it creative finance style. So there's a mortgage in place and the mortgage, what was left on it was about 250, 240. Okay, and now this was 4 years ago before COVID. It's a 2.3% interest rate on my property.
Man, it's
so the seller paid me 10 grand to take it off of his hands.
Wow.
Well, there was some guys that were living in it that were Tango Blas, which is like a hardcore prison gang in Houston, whatever. But you know, I didn't care. I just went through the law. So I had to evict them. When I got them out of the house, I got to take it over, rehab the property, fixed it up. Been living there now for probably about 4 years. My property, I got the tax appraisal for it. This year is worth 585.
Damn.
What the fuck, right? A lot of my houses are like that. People ask me, they say, when is the best time to buy real estate? You buy real estate, then wait.
Absolutely.
The best time was yesterday, bro. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? And so like for me, pivoting, my pivot was so different because I went from like a drug dealer world to this. And it wasn't too crazy. I wasn't killing people and nobody was getting shot. You know, I was selling weed. You know, it's just fucking, you know, slap on the wrist type
Right.
drug dealing. And I did very well, which is a point where I was moving 20 to 30 pounds a month.
Wow.
And then even more sometimes, you know? So it was like, that's where I came from. But the pivot for me that was so hard was just the lack of ethics that was in wholesaling. That was hard for me.
Yeah.
You know, so like in this game, if you get something wrong here, bro, you're held accountable to a standard where your family could be in danger. Okay, so that was the mentality that I had going from this into this, and seeing the amount of shady shit that people do in this real estate industry is so fucking beyond me, dude. It's just crazy, bro. So like looking at that and seeing what people are willing to intentionally do for $5,000 was no different than what a guy would do if he tried to rob me for a pound.
Yeah.
That's like $900 to me. Get it from California, bring it over here, it's worth $4 grand. You know, so it was
Amazing.
just like, it was a crazy transition. So my question to you, bro, what was the hardest transition for you going from having 3 offices, making massive residual, a whole team that depended on you, and everybody having to just kind of go their separate ways, and then you starting here in a 1-bedroom apartment?
Yeah.
Like, what was the the biggest challenge for you in making this happen successfully over here?
So basically, at that point, I had 10 years into that business, right? So I started my business at 23. So I was basically about 33 when I got into real estate. So I had already put in my time. When I say that, I work hard right now, but back then, I mean, I was working 18 to 20 hours a day, basically my 20s. You know, so you can imagine investing that amount of time into a industry, and all of a sudden they pull the rug under you. So you can the mindset that you got to have at that point when the industry is changing, you can't believe it. You're like, holy crap, I'm already supposed to sell my portfolio. The way that it works in that industry is you build a portfolio of merchants that's producing a residual income, and then you sell it to the banks or the processors, and they pay you a high multiple. I mean,
Wow.
we're talking about millions of dollars at that point. So when the industry changed, nobody was buying portfolios.
Damn.
So all of a sudden you're holding on to an asset that's not worth nothing now, and you're just waiting to the day that it just goes down to zero.
And it was costing you money to hold on to it?
I mean my operation. Obviously,
Yeah.
I had a big overhead. I had 3 offices. I had utilities,
Team,
my
payroll,
payroll.
infrastructure.
I had sales managers that I was paying on the that they were not commission only, right?
Damn, man, damn.
So it's just at that point you're just drowning. And for me, real estate was that pivotal point where I remember the book Robert Kiyosaki's Second Chance popped up, like literally popped up within that time, and it basically talked about how you can fail at something and then eventually bounce back, and it was weird. Like that book was just talking to me. It was like when things lined up, and the message was just there, and I said, man, this is it. Real estate is my opportunity to gain back all the time that I invested in a different industry, especially we're in a high ticket,
Yeah.
right? So if I succeed at this, I'm gonna be able to gain back my time, meaning where I was supposed to be financially, in all aspects, of my career, and then I can do that in a short period of time in real estate, and that's pretty much what happened.
Wow.
Eventually, You know, eventually you get into real estate, it works out, and then you start figuring out the bigger picture. The bigger picture is like, man, now we're creating jobs, we're changing the area, right? Now that my nickname is the East Side King, right, on the east side. So everybody knows me out there. And it just gets easier. I've been working on my systems and processes for almost 10 years. That's why people say, well, why are you going to succeed versus anybody else? Man, I've been working on my processes for 10 years, and I got them so dialed in at this point that I'd be foolish to stop. Yeah. You know, so if somebody's going to make it or capitalize in the area now, I mean, it's going to be us. So the thing that I see, my vision right now, is what took me 10 years to do, we'll probably be able to duplicate it in less than 3 years.
Wow.
Using, obviously, social media, being able to scale our business, you know, bring in other private lenders, and building a brand. And that's the reason also that I'm out here, is to put my message out there, because it gets me network, right? There's people out there that I wouldn't connect with them any other way. And, you know, I've been wanting to connect with the players out here, you know, and you being one of them. I see your transformation and what you gone through, right? I mean, I have a lot of respect for that, because I know what it takes on a daily basis to work on yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and not every day it's all peachy, right? It's like,
not.
You know, it's a roller coaster. Our goal is, at the end of the day, to have more positives than negatives. Sometimes at 4 o'clock, I hit a wave, and I'm like, oh man, let me ride this out. I'm gonna end the day, you know, with a bang. All of a sudden, I call the call I didn't want to do, close it out, or it gets me to, you know, the next base, and I'm like, man, now I'm in that right mindset, because it's all mindset, you know. But it's hard to get into those streaks, into that momentum. And you got to take advantage of that when you're in that peak mind. You know,
I want to ask you this, because I think that people could benefit from this for sure, because we all go through exactly what you're talking about. And I'm telling you, 90% of the battle is mindset. Entrepreneurship is one of the most trying things that anybody will ever do. Like, truthfully, I loved that I built a business before I got my body right. But, you know, even then, man, I'm not where I want to be. I still got the saggy skin. I still got the fat that's hanging from my body. But I'm way stronger than what I was when I first started, when I was 400 pounds. But you gotta think about this for a second, right? Was Q stronger at 400? I tried to put on a 200-pound vest the other day, right? And that's still not, it's not as heavy as I was, but I tried to do the same workouts that I call them version 1.0 Q used to do. And let me tell you what, man, I was gassed, bro. Wow. I was gassed. So you think about it, right? Sometimes with that thing that's hard to do is only as hard as you make it at the time, right? And then eventually it gets easier as you gradually go through business. But again, like, it was the mindset that carried me through. I kept hearing the voices in my head. You know, when you have a big brand online, bro, people rip you for no reason. And some of the things that people would say about me, especially on TikTok, it was about my weight. I hated it, dude. And it was, you know why it hurt me, is because it was true. You know what I'm saying? And so it was just like, people would comment like, oh, look at this fatty talking about real estate. He needs to take his money and invest it in lipo. Like, I would see fucking comments like that from people that are so miserable, but they would still affect me. Like, I'm not this bulletproof guy, bro. Like, I'm still a human at the end of the day. Am I strong? Absolutely. Do I have the mindset to be successful? I do. I know it's there. But it doesn't make me prone to not take those things in sometimes and look at myself. And so I realized that I had a problem, and I did something about it. So we all go through that. I want to know what was going through your mind when you were literally like on the brink of losing those 3 offices and having to restart. You have all these people probably calling you, hey man, are we going to have a job? Yeah. Like, how am I going to take care of my family? You're supposed to be the guy calling the shots. That happened to me before too. So I'm wondering how you handled that, and what was your mindset like? What were the things that you were feeling in that moment? And then how did you overcome?
Yeah. So once again, you know, when you're having your business collapse in front of you and you're just bleeding out, right? And you know you're a few months away from basically being bankrupt or financially, you know, tapped out. That's when you put yourself in a situation to figure it out. I think one of the things that I did right off the get-go was, you know, get lean, meaning start just cutting out all the fat, all the unnecessary spending, marketing, right? So for starters, I wasn't doing no marketing anymore. I think back then, whatever forms of marketing we were doing, like obviously in real estate, you do PPC, you do direct mail, that
Cold
type
call,
of thing,
text,
cold call,
all
that
that.
type of thing. So that's step one. Stop the expenses and then get as lean as possible. Obviously, I kept the people still operating. I mean, we still had merchants that we had a service, so it was just a matter of time. I just knew that eventually down the road, whether it's a year from now, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, I mean, I was going to be out of business. So I had to make a change. And eventually, like I said, once I got into the real estate and I started to do decent, then that enabled me to fund, my operation also for the merchant services. If you ask me today, I still have the company. I still have maybe about 200 to 300 merchants left. I mean, I had thousands. So I'm still getting paid. I'm still making, I think, close to $100,000 a year just off the merchants that don't want to change,
Yeah.
that are loyal, that are just, those people that are stubborn. They want to stick to their old processor. But we haven't added a new customer in almost 10 years because it wasn't worth it. Meaning the cost of acquisition, it would take me right now 2 years to make my return. So that's where it trained me, like when you get in wholesaling and stuff like that, you have cost per lead, cost per deal, that type of thing. Well,
Yeah.
It's the same thing in merchant services. You're like, I got to pay my agent, I got to pay my sales rep, I got to buy the equipment, paper. This guy has a cancellation fee. I have to pay his cancellation fee to transfer over. It might be $1,000, $2,000. If I'm only making $100 a month off that merchant, I mean, I'm literally crossing my fingers that he doesn't cancel for almost 2 years. That's my worst nightmare. So today, it's not a value proposition, a business proposition where, I mean, I don't want to be crossing my fingers for 2 years that somebody doesn't switch to another processor when the business is so saturated and they got 8 to 10 people walking into their shop on a daily basis offering them to switch processors.
Wow.
So that's how saturated it is. And it's just a matter of time until somebody else lies to them, gets them in a new contract, and takes them away from me. So you're also dealing with a lot of ethics, where they're promising them rates that are non-existent. Mm-hmm. There's bill back. There's all these creative ways. So see, also the industry kind of got, kind of started going in a different direction where I'm just like, I used to be the transparent guy where I'm like, I'm going to save you money if you're already processing. And I mean, I can literally in 1 hour investing with me, I might be able to save you tens of thousands of dollars in the future in your business, because that's a big expense, is your merchant services. When you open up any business, restaurant, coaching, you got to accept credit cards.
Yeah.
So your bill can be in the thousands a month, So that was my mentality was just to kind of slowly trim it down,
Yeah.
and then it transitioned to the real estate. So eventually my real estate business, I started building it. So eventually I started holding on to some properties. So now I needed an admin. Now I needed a property manager. So fast forward. So right now I have a property management company that helps me manage my portfolio. I have a construction company that we're able to rehab these projects at the lowest cost possible. So it enables me to compete with investors that are not able to compete because their cost bases are too big, mm-hmm. right? I have a big portfolio of short-term rentals. So that alone, I had to hire in-house housekeepers, maintenance guys, reservation reps. So when you have somebody doing an Airbnb and they only have one or two, well, they're going to have to either find a friend or a relative to do their cleaner or hire a company. Well, you're not going to be able to pay what I pay my cleaners. So in other words, it's going to be for you hard to compete in my area, Mm-hmm. So again, it's building that skills of economy to be able to compete, especially when the market is tight, right? Like right now, Airbnb has gone down tremendously.
I've seen that. Yeah.
There's so many people that gone in the business. Like I think eventually you're gonna be able to ask 10 people in the future, and 9 out of 10 will say I tried it.
Yeah.
And now I'm not doing it because eventually it's gonna be left for the professional host, the people that are taking it serious as a business. And before, you could just throw up any property and make $4,000, $5,000. I mean, those days are gone.
I've seen a lot of people doing the arbitrage where they lease an apartment and then they'll throw it on Airbnb to lease and stuff, and they'll sublease it.
Correct.
I guess, but they get permission from the apartment complex to use the unit for this reason. A lot of those guys that were talking about it on TikTok, they made 90% of their money just talking about it on TikTok. And so now that the market can't allow that anymore, a lot of these apartment complexes aren't letting it happen. You see a lot of these short-term gurus getting the fucking boot, man. It happens, you know, and that's why you got to be a guru, someone who actually does the business. You know what I'm saying? I love coaching, bro. It's one of my favorite things to do, but there's always a cloud around this, bro. Always. And I knew that when I started teaching 2 years ago, like this was me really taking it seriously, and I started developing a curriculum and all of that I wanted to be the guy who actually did it before I started teaching it. And I fucking waited years before I even jumped into this, you know. But I could tell you, man, you know, like if you're gonna get a coach and you're gonna do this, you're gonna learn this business, you want to find people that are experienced, like the guest I got on this podcast right now, that actually owns it and still doing it. You know what I'm saying? You don't see millions of views on the TikTok videos of somebody who's actually fucking doing it. And that's what I love about what you bring into the table on this, man. It's so cool that there's someone like you that's in San Antonio, dude. Because like I just love meeting local players here. I have a friend of mine that you got to meet. His name's Christopher Motz. He owns a business called Empowerment in the 210. He's actually a full-blown model for the Kansas City Chiefs. Go Cowboys! But like 100%. You know, like it's cool because what his whole show highlights players in San Antonio. And I love it. And you would be a great guest for his podcast. I'm going to tell him about you when we get off of this, man, because I'm already fucking mind blown. Plus, I love talking real estate. I haven't had a real estate guy on here in a minute, man. You know, and like we just shoot the shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
When you decided to take this company from doing a couple of deals to now multiple deals, how did you scale it? How did you, like, what was one of the first things you decided to do to scale your business?
Yeah, I think the most pivotal or the most critical one, I knew the thing I learned in my merchant service business that I could have probably reached even a higher level in that industry was when I realized I needed more capital. So if I would have been able to raise capital in my merchant services company, I probably would have reached even a higher level. So I was kind of limited. I was limited to the resources because I had to upfront commissions. So it got to a point where I almost had to slow down my merchant accounts because it was too much money going out.
Wow.
And I was literally exchanging, you know, basically $200 for like $1,000 as an example. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but it was something of that sort. You would exchange it all day. But when you're like, there's only so many 200s I got, you know, then you yourself limit yourself. And I made that mistake. Eventually, I did raise capital for my merchant service business, but it was too late. I missed the big wave. So in real estate, I saw immediately that was going to be my next hurdle, was going to be the fact that I was going to run out of cash. I don't care if you have $10 million in the bank right now, you buy 50 properties, you're tapped out.
Literally.
I mean, you're done. In real estate, there's no number that you can have that you can go on forever. It doesn't work that way, you know. So what I had to do is start raising my own capital, and what I did is I basically scraped the entire BCAD, or I'm sorry, the entire county records of every single person that lent money here in San Antonio in real estate as a first trust deed individual. So I basically...
So no LLC entity name?
No LLC.
You're looking for the average name?
The average name, you know, Quentin Flores, he lent 50 grand, 100 grand on this deal. I want to reach out to you and let you know, hey, I'm out here on the east side.
You said scrape. That's a terminology, bro. So you do data?
So I hired a web scraper. So basically, he basically compiled the entire data. So I remember when he sent me the spreadsheet, it literally had like 50,000 deeds of trust.
It's a lot.
In 1 year.
Yeah.
So basically, that's how many transactions were done with. So now I said, well, wait a minute, we got to get rid of all the banks. So we got rid of all the Bank of America's, Wells Fargo's.
Cut it out to individual.
Yeah. Then we sorted it out to individuals, and then we said, you know what? I want the individuals that are doing multiple. So I think it was like from 4 to 10 transactions per year, and I figured that was going to be it. So now I had a list of like over 1,000. So back then, you know, my only way of marketing was to send them a letter and letting them know, hey, I'm growing my private lender group. You know, we got deals in the pipeline. I would like to talk to you. And it was just a lot of coffee dates, man. Like literally, I was at you know, here on the east side, there's a coffee shop, a breakfast place. Literally, I was there every day, just having one-on-ones with potential private lenders, telling them about my business, the area. I'm walking around, giving them a tour, and then eventually they would say, you know what, let's try one out, and that's what it was. Eventually, I was able to build a private lender group that I was able to rinse and repeat, and I mean, I raised over 20 million easy,
Yeah.
just in my career of private lending. So that in itself helped me build my portfolio. So if you're asking me what was it, it was that. That's the difference between, I think, me and maybe another another investor that is trying to build their portfolio but doesn't have all the resources. So that, and even then, now we're trying to even double that, because like I mentioned, my whole mission here is to be able to capitalize on what the market is doing right now and be able to scale our business in the next 2 to 3 years to where, you know, use our experience, our resources, social media, networking, you know, to work smarter. And that's where we're at right now. So literally just right before we got here, I literally took a call. Somebody on Instagram, hey man, I saw your video. I want to invest with you. Let me know how it works. You know, and that's what it is. I'm just taking organic people that have some capital right now and want to put it to work. Hey man, I mean, we're active. You know, it's very secure. I mean, we're not going nowhere, man.
I got a property recently that exact same way. And because I mentor, I was teaching my students how easy it is. So like to raising private capital, I shouldn't say how easy it is. I'm me, you're you. We're different. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that everybody can do it that way,
Right.
but I'm telling you that if you have the confidence and the balls to go out and get the things that you truthfully believe that you're deserving of, and you deem yourself worthy to receive them, in God's eyes, you're granted favor, right? And so this is one of those things I think that a lot of people just sleep on, is how powerful it is to just throw it out there, man.
Yeah.
So I found a property. I'm about to put it under contract, and I'm just testing the waters. Told my team, I said, guys, you know, I want to buy this one. You know, and I'm hella over leveraged, bro. I got tons of money tied up in properties all day. So I want to show them how much I could get. On one Facebook post, I threw it out there, say, hey guys, need a loan on this property. You get first position on it. You know what I'm saying? And it'd be a stupid easy deal. $100,000 loan, I'll give you your money back within 3 to 4 months tops. It's like such an easy deal, bro.
Right.
It's not even funny. I copped the ARV on this one at about like 260.
Nice.
And I got it at 70. It needs maybe $40,000 in work. So yeah, I mean, one post, sat down with a guy who came into my studio named Travis, and he and I chopped it up and signed the paperwork for me, and I'm closing on that property on, what is today? Is it today, Monday or Tuesday?
Tuesday, yeah.
Tomorrow.
Nice.
And then there you
Beautiful,
go, bro. 100% financing. No money down. None of that. Guys just lending me the money. You know what I mean? And so, like, I think that there's this stigmatism that needs to be broken in this industry. People talk about build a buyer's list. You got to find investors. You got to, dude, I remember the first guy, and this might not have been the best dude to learn from. I used to work for a company called ATW Investments. They went out of business for embezzling money from Australia, private money from Australia, using it to purchase American real estate. I'll tell you one thing I learned from that guy before he fucking fired me. He fired me and ridiculed me for my tattoos and told me that I'd never make it because I had these holes in my ears. You know, and again, I wish him nothing but the best, bro. And this is not me saying anything negative toward him, but I'll tell you what, he's like, there's so many people that are in this industry talking about building a buyer's list. I built my whole life around raising capital. I don't think of my buyer's list as just a transactional group of people. These are people that I'm building a relationship with. This is my investors. These are people that are going to be believing in the product that I bring to the table. So it's best that I bring them the best. And I love that, bro, because when he told me that just something changed in my mind, and I no longer just tried to build buyer's lists. I don't like being transactional. I don't like doing one deal with one person. I like longevity. I like showing you. I say, hey, man, I have this property right here. I don't want to just sell it to you. I want to keep it.
Yep.
And how about you and I keep it together, and we can make some money on it? See that conversation, just taking it, using that one little twist, rather than, hey man, how much you willing to buy me out of this property? I got it for 100. You can buy me out of 110. No, bro. How about we partner on it together, man? I leverage my resources, teams, and tools, and everything that you need to get this deal done. I just need you to bring with the money. That's it.
That's it.
And we work it. I put my own money up too if I have to. It's not a big deal, you know? And so like when you create those awesome, beneficial, growth-driven relationships, it comes full circle, and you're no longer focusing on building a buyer's list. My guy, you are building actual, real, tangible, meaningful connections, which is what I believe has kept me in business for so goddamn long. But dude, I love that you got that right. That was a big mindset shift for me, man.
Yep.
You know, what is one of the best ways that you go about raising capital? For my people that are watching this, give someone a beginner tip. Don't know how to do it, never done it before in my life. What advice would you give that guy watching?
So I was just talking to somebody that works, for example, I think they work for the fire department, right? And a lot of these people, they have retirement accounts. They have 401ks. They have different vehicles, and a lot of them, you know, they can use them to invest into real estate. And I was talking to somebody that wants to get into real estate, you know, and obviously all his colleagues have these accounts, and they invest themselves into real estate, but he wants to find deals because he already has the private lender group technically, right? It's in his social network. So it's really everybody out there, I would say, can be a potential private lender. So the key is, you know, why would they lend on you? So what I told this individual was, well, first, you know, you haven't done a deal yet. What I would recommend is partner up with somebody, and I'll just use me as an example, or you, to kind of learn the entire process, and even come in as a private lender. Hey, Q, I'll fund that $100,000 deal. Let me just be part of the process. Let me see the whole 9 yards. You'll be like, yeah, man, you know, no problem. Eventually, you know, that person will be able to do their own deals, and they'll have that experience too. So I think at the beginning, you have to, instead of just saying do this, you got to get the experience first, you know, because I don't know anybody in their right mind that would just say, or relative that would just say, hey, Q, here's go invest this in crypto, and you're like, dude, I never invested in crypto. It just doesn't make any sense, right? So same thing with real estate. Just because you know, you have a course or something like that, or you've been watching YouTube, at the end of the day, you have to have something under your belt. So my biggest recommendation is always just get plugged in with somebody, do that first deal, get that experience, and then you might already have, like this guy already had his private lenders. So he was taking it one step one step, you know, too advanced.
Yeah, too far.
Too far. Take one step back and then two forward. And one step back is fine, you know, pay your dues, find somebody you can partner up with. Of course, you gotta give some of that deal away. It's just how it works. You know, and if you're that type that you want to keep everything because you think it might be the only deal you're gonna get in your life, then you have that scarce mentality. That's not gonna work. You gotta have the abundance mentality where you put it out there and it just comes back to you, man. Especially when you put it with meaning and feeling and that type of thing, right? The law of attraction, you know. So that would be my recommendation to viewers that basically want to get into real estate. They want to raise capital, you know, but at the beginning, you got to get that first deal. And once you get that first deal, then, you know, that'll give you the little that leverage you need to be able to now jump into, you know, bigger projects or something of that sort, because I mean you completed a project.
Man, you're a wealth of knowledge, bro. Really, like this has been such a great podcast. I haven't had a guest like you on here in a long time.
Appreciate it.
It feels awesome, dude. For my people that want to learn from you, want to partner with you, want to send you deals, you're obviously buying real estate. You're doing very well. People want to get connected. This show reaches so many people from different perspectives, man. We get like 10,000 downloads a month. Awesome. So, man, I want them to know who you are. How can they follow you and get a hold of you?
Yeah, the easiest way is follow me on Instagram, the Richard Gonzalez with a Z-S-A. And on there, again, we post daily, you know, updates on our projects. And again, if you have any deals in our neighborhood, obviously we mostly invest in downtown. If anything pops up, send it our way. Or if you have a deal and you want to partner up on, once again, we're open right now. Right now I'm willing to take, partnerships and stuff like that. Maybe in the future it'd be a different story. But right now, I mean, we're growing, we're trying to expand, and everybody knows, the goal here is to scale and be able to capitalize where we're at in the market cycle. Because honestly, I feel like at one point, I remember 2017, 2018 was like the biggest growth year down there.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff like tripled, like double, tripled in 1 year. It was like the craziest thing. And I remember wholesalers and everybody were selling teardowns for like 200. They were literally listing them for 200. And I'm like, this is 2018. Everything was gold.
Yeah.
And I 2017, I knew what was, what was about to happen, and I did good, but I could have gone harder, and I was kicking myself in 2018 that I knew it. I'm like, man, I could have capitalized on this a little bit more. Fast forward today, man, I'm buying for less than 2017.
Wow.
And it just lets you know the activity down there, or the amount of investors is very low. So I feel like I'm one of the few kids in the playground just playing by myself right now. So again, I'm trying to, I'm going to capitalize on that. And once again, for anybody that wants to be part of that, the time is now.
I love it, man. Dude, thank you so much for being on my podcast, Richard. It means a lot to me, bro.
I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. I'll see you guys on the next one. Let's get it.